We all were.
Well, before I get into how I came to be a poet, I was thinking, once in a while we read articles of the great controversy about that poetry is dead and there is no audience. And it goes back and forth and back and forth. And there is an audience, but it never shows up. You know? And I read somewhere in one of the America book that there's like 55 million closet writers in this country who write, but never share it or just keep it. Whether it's journal, dry poetry, never let anybody know they're writing anything. So, I think in the last 3 or 4 years, I've gotten serious about my writing as far as figuring out what I wanted to do with it. When I started out, I just wrote to have fun, and there was no end game or purpose to it. But now, I want to take my time and write something. It's going to come close to the bullseye, kind of a truth that connects everybody, all humanity, just find out what it is. And so I kind of know what it is, so I'm going to be writing, and what I have is going to make a connection in some way and do something. So, how did I get to this point? When I turned 45, my wife of 22 years left me. It was sudden. It was unexpected. She left. She left me the house. She left me the car. She left me all the money. She left me all the furniture. She didn't want anything. Just disappeared. So there I was, thinking this was going to be my life till retirement. And at the same time, I lost my job of 18 years with Replex that I thought I'd have forever. So everything can change, just like this your whole life. Everything. So what I did was I got in my car, which was a beater. I think it was a Catalina or something, with a felt top that was ripped. And when I was driving down the freeway, I decided to go to New Orleans to Mardi Gras. I don't know why. It might have been something I wanted to do. So I'm driving down the freeway, and the top of the car is flapping up 4 or 5 feet and making a little bit of noise, and I'm driving. And when I get to where it's sunny in a rest area in Louisiana, I parked in the rest area, took my shoes off, took my socks off, took my shirt off, rolled up my pants, and laid on the hood of the car, soaking the sun for an hour and a half. And it was, I think, in that time period, for the first time ever, I was just kind of relaxed. And feeling the energy of the sun and the cosmos and everything. And for some reason, the poetry thing came, and I stayed for about 17 days. And somewhere in that transition on Bourbon Street, I vowed to write every day, do something, to become a poet. And I came back, and I've done that to the best of my ability, and I mean, 13 books later, and everything else, here I am. So I'm just going to start with something very short. I went to a wedding, November 10th. At St. Coleman's, during the wedding ceremony, the little flower girl left her pew. As she walked around, we motioned for her to come back. She didn't listen. Instead, danced to her own music, creating waves of innocence that washed over all of us as we prayed for a soft rain. Love acted out in the exchange of rings as I turned around to tell a little boy that everything is holy. I'm going to read a couple of Venice Beach poems. I was lucky to go out to California, Arizona for a month. And this is the first one. The Quiet Ocean of Regrets. On Venice Beach, a large bent compass needle points to a better world. A call comes from my daughter. Something about being stuck, transmission problems. I explain. Sweetheart, I'm in California. She doesn't want me to fall in love again. Says I'm too old for jogging. It's as though I died years ago. My life, a failure. But here, I'm dealing with everyone's harmless lies, tasting the salt water, convinced that a barrel of oil is worth more than a dozen beautiful faces. Here, the people tend to their organic gardens, swallow multicolored pills, and point to burning ships on the rooftops. On the beach, strangers offer to pour fresh goat milk on my cornflakes, wanting to sell me what I left behind for $5. They're selling everything there. Everything possible. This next one. It's for my mom. I don't know why it came up. My mom and dad were captured and taken to Germany to work as prisoners for 3 years in August of '42, and they were both like 18 years old. And my dad was in Poland, and mom was in Ukraine, and they met going on a pathway because the barracks for people were always separated. The men and the women were separated, sleeping quarters. There was no congregation, and they had strict rules, and all of them had a little card with their name and everything, picture, all that, and you couldn't be more than like a quarter of a mile where your workplace was or where you went to stay the night. You couldn't go around on the card, which I still have. I found it. And my dad didn't say much, but on Sundays, they would call everybody out to the square, all the workers, and they would hang people in the morning, like around 9 o'clock, for infractions of rules. And some of the rules were like maybe talking to a German woman, or you were caught, bingo, gone. And that way they kept kind of everybody straight. Plus there was nowhere to run, because the Russians were on the other side, and everyone knew what would happen, so they just had to stay there. So this is for her. Footsteps in the woods. If I was in the woods for an hour, the lost secrets of ancient civilizations would set up traps for me. Armed with half a sandwich and a pocket knife, I searched for dinosaur eggs. Too many times would hear sobbing in the woods, walking past ash dust green moss on the sides of trees that looked too much like ghosts, the faces of murdered Jews. The world was moving backwards. In times of peace, there are more wars than one can imagine. Opium clouds casting a shadow over hillsides and cities. Girls in the 6th grade with this sense of urgency, breaking curfew to become women. It was Little Red Riding Hood that I was afraid of, not the wolf. I became a headhunter, a cult classic, a superhero about to get his own comic book. All summer I kept looking, hoping to find a sketchbook filled with the names of the lost, a picture of my mother wearing a winter scarf, who barely escaped from the Germans who were steadfast in trying to shorten her life. Love is too much of a glamorized metaphor. A wooden ships with sails and winds blowing like the wishes of small boys. We can't stop the death, the madness, so we save our pennies. Help out by washing dishes, avoiding strangers who want to kiss our foreheads. And we can do nothing. Out of frustration, we sneak out the back door, running down the streets, leaving behind fresh tracks of our sorrow, till someone grabs hold of us, someone who's willing to love us, like the gods breathing into us the first breath. Suddenly, we feel the weight, the oceans, the heart wanting to love the world back. And I think like it's all about loving the world back. No matter what we're dealt. Anybody like poetry?
Yeah.
Favorite poets? No one knows what they want to hear?
My favorite changes every day. Today, my favorite is Vladimir Swirinsky.
I make a point of it every year, whether I have money or not, to go to the International Film Festival. And it's an incredible experience. You get to pick something. And I saw a couple foreign movies and some selected shorts. This is just called movies. I wrote this. Why see the movie when it's cheaper and more fun to ridicule the critics? The reviewers are an ecosystem unto themselves. They have colonized the major newspapers. Offhand jokes exchanged during the screenings. The most dramatic moments of the film, when dialogue is the heart outstretched. They roll up the newspaper like a lightsaber from Star Wars episode and tap their knees as they watch the earth destroyed because it's in the script. All over the country, in small rooms, half asleep, they figure out the plot before the first handful of popcorn. Unlike the old days, special effects, close-up of the ordinary, words, something not invented yet, the beauty of imperfection, a face worth more than a handful of nickels.